I want to start out by telling you something that I used to believe that I now know isn't true. I used to believe that investing in yourself was the thing you did after everything else was handled. After the bills were paid, after the business hit a certain number, after the kids were a little older, life settled down. It's kind of like when you feel the need to clean your house before the cleaners get there. Tell me I'm not the only one that does that. I told myself that, for the first few years that I was in business. And what I didn't see, what I couldn't see, was that waiting was costing me more than investing ever would. It was costing me time, decisions that I kept circling back to instead of actually making, hours every week spent in my head instead of in motion. And it was costing me money too, not in like a dramatic way, but in the slow, quiet way that like stagnation cost you, right? The opportunities that I didn't take because my confidence wasn't there, the income that didn't grow because I didn't grow. Like I remember, once I hired my or invested in my first coach, and my background is in direct selling. And I remember the first question she asked me was, "Tell me about your recruiting." And I was like, "I don't know what you're talking about." Like, I wasn't someone who was recruiting. And like those first 2 years, the opportunities that I missed because I had not invested in having a coach to tell me that that was like one of the most important things in the business, right? I mean, I had people joining my team, but I wasn't actively pursuing and making offers because I didn't have the confidence. And I had a real belief that I had to be a pushy person to get sales or to have people join my team. And I had to unlearn that. And I couldn't unlearn that on my own. It was also costing me presence with my kids, with my husband, with myself. And when I finally, invested in myself and did the work, and I stopped waiting for life to calm down and started prioritizing investing in the real asset, which is me, the return was real. It was practical, it was measurable, and it wasn't just emotional. So that's what today's episode is about, the actual ROI of getting aligned, not in like a hype way, not in your life will be perfect moving forward way, in a real specific, here's what actually changes way. So let's dive in. Welcome to the Life Coaching for Mompreneurs podcast, where you will learn simple solutions to win at work without losing at home. Hi, my name is Martine Williams, and I am your host and CEO, your Chief Encouragement Officer. And this podcast is your one-stop shop to creating a burnout-proof life and business by elevating your clarity, confidence, and courage. Friends, it's time to say goodbye to being the yes girl, to procrastinating on your goals and living in overwhelm. And it's time to say hello to creating healthy boundaries, healthy mindsets, and healthy habits so that you can achieve work-life harmony. Your next breakthrough starts here. This is the Life Coaching for Mompreneurs podcast. Let's do this. Before we talk about what changes when you get aligned, I want to name what it costs to stay where you are, because I think most women underestimate this. The first cost is time. Indecision is a time thief. When you are not clear on your priorities, when you don't trust yourself, when you're operating from fear of getting it wrong, you spend enormous amounts of time going in circles. You're just spinning, right? You're researching instead of deciding. You're planning instead of doing. You're starting over every Monday because last week didn't feel right, right? You scratch that plan, you try another, scratch that plan, you try another one. One of my clients told me that she spent 2 hours one morning just trying to decide what to work on. 2 hours, not working, deciding what to work on. And she said that was kind of like a normal morning for her, especially the beginning of the week. And so as we started working together and as I was sharing with her, the productivity system that I teach my clients and just the work we were doing together, when you have clarity and you have self-trust, that 2 hours becomes 10 minutes. Like you figured it out, you know what you're going to work on. And that's not a small thing. Over the course of a week, a month, or a year, that's hundreds of hours back into your life because you're not spiraling. You're not avoiding. The second cost is energy. And you've heard me say this a couple of times, and I'm going to keep saying it because it is so true that we've got to start managing our energy over managing our time. So, energy management is the new time management. And when you're operating against your natural wiring, it's exhausting in a way that's hard to explain until you've experienced the alternative. Like when my clients come in and they start learning about themselves and what their natural strengths are and what their natural decision making style is and what their energy style is and their capacity, like all of these things just start making sense. And it's really hard to explain until you experience it. So when you're constantly trying to be someone you're not, pushing yourself into someone else's version of success, managing the gap between who you are and who you think you're supposed to be, it costs you energy. And that energy should be going towards things that actually matter, right? My clients kind of describe it as carrying a backpack they didn't even know they had on. And then when they put it down, when they start operating from their actual strengths instead of fighting their natural wiring, they have energy that they forgot existed. And when you hear me talk about like fighting against your natural wiring, I don't think any of you or I do this like intentionally or purposely. But we don't know ourselves until you go through this personality blueprint experience and really learn how you're naturally wired. You just don't know the information. And so you just know that it feels harder than it should. It feels heavier. It's why is she able to do that? Like she does a really good job there. And I struggle with that, right? There's the comparison trap that we get into. So those are the ways that it shows up. It's not like you're waking up and going, I'm going to work against my wiring today. No, that's not what's happening. But what is happening is that you're not clear on what your natural strengths are. And so you downplay your strengths and you highlight your weaknesses and you try to make your weaknesses stronger versus throwing gasoline on the things that are already your superpowers. So that's what I mean when I say you're fighting against it. The third cost is income. Now, this one is real, and I want to say it plainly because when you're not confident, when you're not clear, and when you're operating from proving energy instead of your authentic strengths, it shows. It shows in how you sell, it shows in how you lead, it shows in how you show up to the people who need what you have, right? If you're not in that confident energy and able to market your business in a way that is in alignment with your natural strengths, if you're not selling from a place and knowing your style, right? Knowing your personality style for selling, you start trying to be like other people. It doesn't feel authentic. It doesn't feel good. And you're like, that doesn't feel good, so I'm not going to do it. And if you're not doing it, that's costing you income. Your energy is your greatest business asset. So when it's depleted, scattered, or spent managing your own anxiety and fears and doubts, like the business feels it. It really does. Ask me how I know. And the fourth cost, and this one, is the one that gets me, is the presence, right? Like being present. You can't be fully present in your life if you're constantly managing the distance between who you are and who you think you should be in that performance loop. You just can't. The presence your family deserves, the presence that you deserve, it requires you to actually be yourself, to be authentic, to know what you want, know what your family wants, know what you're going to be doing when you get to your desk instead of spending time, 2 hours trying to figure out what you're supposed to do. And I'm not saying any of this to make you feel guilty or make you feel bad. I'm saying it because I want you to see clearly what you're already spending, what it's already costing you. And when I'm still to this day making investments, and when I'm, investing in coaching or investing in a program or investing in a retreat that I want to attend, I ask myself, what is it costing me? What is it costing you right now, Martine, by not getting the answers that you need, by not getting the support that you need? So when we talk about investing in alignment in yourself, the math makes sense when you really stop and think about it. Hey friend, let's talk. It's time to book your clarity call. We are going to spend 1 full hour focused on you. A clarity call isn't about pressure. It's about possibilities. It's about you. You having a space to talk through what's on your heart and mind, you walking away with a clear vision and practical next steps, and you feeling confident in what's next and how to get there. You don't need to have it all figured out. That's my job. All you need to do is show up and we'll figure it out together. This is the best hour you can invest in yourself right now. Not in 6 months from now, not next month, right now. And don't just take my word for it. Here's what one of my coaching clients had to say after working together.
Working with Martine has been nothing short of transformational. When I first started coaching with her, I felt really stuck and burnout and frustrated. And through her guidance, I've gained clarity and a deep sense of self-awareness that has touched so many areas of my life. Martine creates a space that is both safe and empowering, and she listens with intention, challenges with compassion, and helps you see possibilities where you previously only saw roadblocks. So if you're ready to grow, take bold steps, and connect more deeply with who you are and where you're going, I can't recommend Martine enough. She's a truly gifted and talented coach.
That transformation, it starts with one conversation. It's time to stop spinning your wheels and start making real progress. So head right now to martinewilliams.com or in the show notes and grab your private clarity call spot on my calendar before they're gone. And since I personally monitor my inbox, if you don't see a time slot that fits your calendar, just send me an email at martinewilliams.com with 3 times that do work, and I will make it work for you. All right, friend, let's get back to the show. So let's talk about what actually changes. And I mean specifically, not you'll feel better because you will, or you'll find your purpose. You'll do that too. But I want to talk about real, observable, this shows up in your actual life shifts when you invest. Shift number 1 is that decisions get faster and they stick. My number 1 job as a coach is to help people make a decision, because this is where a lot of us live, is in the land of indecision. And so that's my number 1 job, is to help you to make a decision and then get after the work to make it the right decision. And then hold your feet to the fire. So when my clients do the work of understanding their natural wiring, like you have a natural decision-making style. And when you understand that, it allows you to harness that to make the decision that you need to make. When you understand your strengths, when you know your values and your priorities and what genuinely matters to you in this season of life, you develop a filter. My clients develop a filter, and that filter changes how you make decisions. So you stop asking, they stop asking, what should I do? And they start asking, what's right for me right now in this moment? What does the business need? What do I need? What does my family need? Not what you should do. We've got to stop shooting all over ourselves. I should be doing this. I should be further along. I should do what they're doing. No, what's right for you in this moment? And those are very different questions. And the second one gets answered a lot faster when you take the should out and you ask, what is priority right now? What decision needs to be made right now? What does my business need right now? One client told me that she used to agonize over every business decision for days. And I so relate to her, because I used to always say, like, if I could change one thing about me, it would be the ability to make a decision and make it fast. And I have grown that skill set because I now have a filter. I have a decision-making criteria. And sometimes it would take weeks for me to make a decision. Sometimes it would, seen my clients just say, I've been sitting on this one decision for weeks. So they're posting this, they're launching that, they're saying yes and saying no to an opportunity. And after we work together as with my clients, she said, I make decisions like in minutes now. I don't go back and second guess them. And so it's not necessarily making the fastest decision, but it is making a decision, because that takes energy. When you have open loops in your brain, you have decisions that are not being made, that you're continuing to think on. It's probably waking you up at night. It is draining your mental energy. So when we talk about energy, I don't want you to think about just your physical energy. I want you to think about your mental and emotional energy. So when you are able to make decisions, that is self-trust. And that has been coming up a lot in my coaching with my one-on-one clients is the lack of self-trust. It's one of the most valuable things that you can build because it's the lack of self-trust that creates the indecision. You don't trust yourself that you're going to make the right decision or you're trying to make the right decision. And I've said this on the podcast before, but we've got to stop wasting time trying to make the right decision and make a decision and then do the work to make it right. You could always change your mind. You can always pivot, but the only way to know is to go. That's how you build your self-trust. So shift 2 is you reclaim real time. I just did this with one of my clients. She got 7 hours back in her week, us working together. 7 hours. What would you do if you got 7 hours back in your week? It's pretty remarkable. And we already talked about the time cost of staying stuck, right? The flip side is the time you get back when you're not stuck, when you have clear priorities, when you stop doing things out of guilt and obligation that were never yours to do. And that was kind of what came up for this client. It was like, why are you saying yes to all of these boards and things that are not in alignment with what you really want to build right now, right? And it's just out of obligation. It's just what she's always done. So when you have strong boundaries, you stop over explaining, over committing, and over delivering for people who never asked you to. And when you have clarity, you stop spinning. My clients consistently describe reclaiming hours every single week. And it's not by doing less, but it's doing what actually matters. The time that goes back into their work, their families, and themselves. They get all three. Time back in their work, time back in their families, and time back for themselves. So that's the shift, the second shift. Shift 3 is your income does grow, but not maybe for the reason that you think. And I want to be really honest here that coaching is not a magic revenue strategy. It's not. That might be why maybe you've invested in coaching programs before and you didn't see your revenue grow. It's not a magic revenue strategy. What it is a confidence and clarity strategy. And confidence and clarity have a direct relationship with your income. So you can have all the strategies in the world, but if you are not confident in implementing them, what does it matter, right? If you're not clear on, is this the strategy that I need for what my business needs or for what my family needs or for what I need? It doesn't matter. It's just a strategy, right? So when you're not spending your energy managing your own anxiety, you actually have more of it also to grow your business. When you're not spending energy on indecision and making all of these decisions or managing your own fear or managing your own doubts or managing your anxiety, you have that energy to put back into actually growing your business. And when you show up from strength instead of stress, people feel that. Your clients, your team, your audience. Like I think back to one of my very first parties in direct sales and how nervous I was, but I did it anyway. And I know people could feel my stress. Now I still sold a lot that night, but I know they could feel my stress. And each time I presented, I got better and I got better and I got better, right? I wasn't managing my fear anymore. I was managing building the relationships with people. Like my focus was shifting. And so that allowed my income to grow. When you believe in yourself, you ask for the sale. When you're confident in your product, confident in your services, you ask for the sale, you raise the price, you take the opportunity that you would have talked yourself out of before. How many of you have talked yourself out of an opportunity? Because the confidence wasn't there, the courage wasn't there. I've watched clients increase their income not because they learned a new strategy, but because they stopped standing in their own way. They got out of their own way. They chose courage over confidence even. Because in the beginning, you might not feel confident, but you could always choose courage. It's what I did. I didn't feel confident having that first party. I didn't feel confident the first time I got on a stage. I didn't feel confident the first time I presented my coaching, but I chose courage, right? And that is because I had done the work and I had someone to help and guide and mentor and coach me on the days where all of it felt hard. So shift four is the mom guilt goes down. And we've talked about mom guilt a good bit here on this podcast, and it's still a very real thing that I see. And, my kids are older now, but it still has its way of rearing, its ugly head, even now as my kids are older. But this one really matters so much to the women that I work with. And I don't think it gets talked about enough in the business coaching space. But mom guilt, in my experience, is really actually about the time you spend away from your kids. It's about whether the time you're spending is actually worth it, right? Whether it's purposeful, it's aligned, or if you're just reactive and exhausting. Like if you spent your day fragmented and you're, doing laundry, and then you go over here and you write an email, and then you make a sales call, and then you go back and you check on the laundry. And like if you're just spending your days reacting and putting out fires versus here's the plan, here are my productive priorities, my revenue generating activities. They're already scheduled in. I know exactly when I'm going to do them. I know exactly how much time I'm going to spend on them. When you leave a day like that and you're fully present in your work, you can close the door on your business and go hang out with your family, and you don't feel guilty that you're not working, right? And then when you're working, you don't feel guilty that you're not with your kids because you know it's purposeful, intentional, and it's actually going to impact your family because the work you're doing is very clear. When you're clear on what you're building and why, when your work actually feels like yours, the guilt loses a lot of its grip. Doesn't mean it doesn't still show up, but it does lose its grip. And when you're present, actually present, meaning be where your feet are. I just did a virtual keynote and talked about this, like being where your feet are. If you're working, work. If you're with your family, be with your family. If you're with yourself at the gym, be with yourself at the gym. But if you're actually present, not just physically there and your mind is somewhere else, the time you do have with your family lands differently, right? For them and for you. They can see the difference of when you're fully there and when you're not. And from my experience, the only way I was able to really fully be present was to be where my feet were at work and to have the plan and to be clear about what I was working on and to be clear about what results I'm going for and to be so attached to my why of working that I was able to leave it at the end of the day and go spend time with my family. And I didn't feel guilty about it anymore. So I've done plenty of episodes on mom guilt, so you can go back and research those. But that is a shift that happens. And shift five is you stop starting over. How many of you would admit that you're in the start stop cycle? This is a big one. So many high achieving women live in a cycle of big starts and then quiet quits. You launch strong and then you lose steam. You get excited and then you get overwhelmed. You hit Monday with the plan, but by Wednesday, you're reactive again. That cycle almost always comes from not having a plan that was built for you. Generic advice, generic systems, generic goals, they don't hold because they weren't designed for your wiring. I have a mastermind peer. I saw her post the other day, and she does similar work that I do. And she was like, "You're not a cookie. Stop taking cookie cutter advice, right? You're not a cookie. You're unique. And you don't need generic advice, generic system, generic goals. You need to know how you're wired so you can build your business and your life around that. Because that's where the energy stays. That's where the confidence comes from. That's where real results and transformation comes from. We don't need any more hacks. You don't need another productivity hack. You need a real solution for creating the life and the business that you want and creating that aligned success that I talk about. Quick pause. If you've been listening and you're ready to stop performing your life and start leading it, if you know you're ready to feel better now, not later, and you're ready for support that actually creates sustainable transformation, I have private one-on-one coaching spots open. And inside this coaching, in Illuminate You Coaching, we don't guess. We use your unique personality blueprint built from the science-backed personality and performance tool called the ProScan, the one you've heard me talk about here in the podcast. This is used so that every decision, every boundary, every shift is designed specifically around your wiring, not someone else's. This is my aligned success method. It's not hacks. It's not try harder. It's not mindset glitter. It's a real solution. It's rooted in science, strategy, and your unique design. So you can lead your life as the woman you actually are, not the woman others expect you to be. Now is the time. Take the step. Book your clarity call at martinewilliams.com/clarity. All right, back to the episode. So when your plan is built around your natural strengths, your energy, your actual capacity, it's sustainable. You stop starting over because you've built something that you could actually maintain. It's not go hard, push through until you burn out, and then you take some time off, and then you come back and try to start again. Like, it's so much harder to restart. Like, things that are in motion tend to stay in motion. So keep it in motion versus the start stop cycle. Like, you do that a few times and you're like, this is too hard. And then you just stop completely. You give up on your dreams. You give up on your business. So the goal is to build around your natural strengths and energy and actual capacity so it's sustainable, so that you actually keep your doors open and you don't close them. You heard me talk about in an episode, like, for women are leading men in starting businesses right now, but they're 47% more likely to close their businesses because of personal and family reasons. No one's taught them how to build aligned, sustainable success. They taught them how to build a business, but they didn't teach them how to sustain themselves in that process. And that's the missing piece. You know the sales, the marketing, and all the strategies probably. And if you don't, that's okay. There's always more to learn. But you have the gist of it. But you've not been taught how to sustain yourself to protect the greatest asset, which is you, so that you can continue to do the marketing and the selling and the delivering and being present for your family. That's what happens when you invest in this coaching. So those 5 shifts, that is the ROI of getting aligned, creating alignment, and every single one of them is available to you. So I want to take a minute and talk about procrastination, because this comes up a good bit also on my coaching calls, because I think it's one of the most misunderstood things really that we work with. Most women who procrastinate think they have like a discipline problem, a focus problem, a time management problem. And here's what I know is that they don't. Procrastination, like the real chronic, I know what I need to do and I'm still not doing it, procrastination is almost always a self-trust problem. Or it's a protection. What are you protecting yourself from when you're not doing the thing? It's a really great question to ask. If you look at procrastination as protection, because this new thing that I'm supposed to go do, or this call I'm supposed to make, or this conversation I'm supposed to have, or this post there's something you're trying to protect yourself from, because you don't have that self-trust. When you've gotten things wrong before, when you've put yourself out there and it didn't work, when your inner critic is louder than your confidence, your brain learns that doing nothing is safer than risking failure. And so it protects you by keeping you busy with everything except the things that matter. This is why I've really been talking about you've got to stop using just your to-do list and actually schedule it in, and then be a person of integrity and do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. Because it's so easy to get busy but not be in business. You're doing all the things except the things that matter, because they're risky. They're scary. It's uncertain. Is it going to work? Is it not going to work? So what do? We research, we plan, we reorganize, we consume the content instead of creating it. All of that is your brain keeping you safe from the vulnerability of actually going for it. And the fix is not a better productivity system. The fix is rebuilding trust with yourself. And I will say that having a thought partner to help you rebuild that trust is how you accelerate that process. In and of yourself, it's really hard to do. It's not that you can't do it, but it is harder in and of yourself. And that happens when you start operating from your actual strengths, knowing yourself on this level. And when you have a plan that was built for you specifically, not a generic framework that was built for someone else, but when you know you have someone in your corner who believes in you on the days you don't believe in yourself, that's what helps to build that self-trust. And when that self-trust comes back, listen, procrastination loses its job. It gets fired. There's nothing left to protect you from, because you're willing to feel anything. If you're willing to feel anything, you'll be willing to do anything. If you're willing to feel uncomfortable, if you're willing to feel like a newbie, if you're willing to feel like, I'm not sure if this is going to work, but I trust that I'm going to have my back. I just said this to a client yesterday. I said, can you trust that you will have your back after you make this decision to do the work to make it right, or to pivot if you need to, or to change something if you need to. If you believe you're going to have your own back, you're going to make the decision and you're going to stop procrastinating and you're going to go for it. So forward motion becomes natural instead of forced when you have that self-trust back. And you stop wondering why it's so hard, because it stops being as hard. There's still going to be hard moments. And I don't want you to think you come into coaching and we're trying to coach you on how to avoid the hard. No, it's going to be hard and you're capable. It's going to be hard and you're figuring it out. It's going to be hard and you're getting better. You're getting stronger. It's putting your brain on that. It's hard and I'm going to move forward anyway, because my why is so important. So what changes in your business when you get aligned? And we've talked about this a little bit, but I want to speak specifically to the business owners and even the direct sellers that are listening for just a minute, because I know some of you are thinking, this sounds great, but I need results in my business. I need to grow. I need to hit my numbers. How does alignment and being coached on getting into alignment connect to that directly? And here's how. When you know your natural communication and leadership style, when we uncover that through your personality blueprint experience, you stop leading your team the way your upline told you to. And you start leading them in the way that is actually natural to you. And that authenticity changes the dynamic. People feel it. When I used to coach the teams and coach leadership, I would say people don't need a perfect leader. They want an authentic one. They want to see the good days and the bad days. They want to see you leading with integrity and authenticity. When you're not exhausted and scattered because you know how to manage your energy, you show up to your business differently. Like that is going to generate revenue and growth. You're present in your conversations. You're clear in your messaging. You're confident in your offers. That confidence is not small, y'all. It's the difference between someone saying yes and someone saying no and walking away from your offer. Does that directly impact your growth? Absolutely. When your schedule is built around your energy and you have rhythms that support you, not just your task list, you do your best creative work at the right time instead of grinding through it when you're depleted, that makes a difference. And when you're not carrying the weight of everyone else's expectations, the guilt, the comparison, the constant second guessing, you have the mental space for things that actually grow a business. You have the mental space for strategy. You have the mental space for relationships. You have the mental space for creativity and for courage. So alignment is not soft. It's not. It has a real, tangible show up in your revenue return. And I have watched it happen in my own life consistently and with the women that I coach. So here's what I want you to take away from this episode. Investing in yourself is not just a luxury. It is luxurious to have this kind of support. It feels luxurious to know that I have someone in my corner and in my back that I can have a thought partnership with, that can see my blind spots, that can, give me perspective that I don't have, that is, a few steps ahead of me or 100 steps ahead of me and is willing to bring me up. But it's not the thing you do after everything else is handled. It's the thing that makes everything else work better. It's not a get yourself cleaned up and then invest in coaching, or to get to a certain number and then I can invest in coaching. Missed opportunities happen when you wait. Energy depletion happens when you wait. The time, the energy, the income, and the presence, none of that shifts without you shifting first. You cannot pour from a cup that's been empty for years. And in today's episode, I hope that it resonated with you. And if you heard something in those 5 shifts, maybe that you want in your own life and in your business, I want to invite you to take one step. We all have a next step and we all have 100% responsibility for that next step. And your next step is to book a clarity call with me. If something in here resonated, you're like, I want to learn more. I want to know more. This really is what I'm looking for. This is the return on investment that I'm looking for. When you book a clarity call, it's a real conversation. We talk about where you are right now, what you're carrying, what you actually want without judgment. And then whether coaching together is the right fit, right? No pressure, just clarity. And if you've been listening to this episode, you know it's worth a lot. So I have one spot open for my coaching right now, my one-on-one coaching container. And so if you've been on the fence, this is your sign to get off it. The link to book a clarity call, you can go to martinewilliams.com/clarity, or it's in the show notes. It takes less than a minute for you to book that call. And it could be the one call that gives you the clarity you need. Whether you move forward in coaching or not, could give you the clarity you need to move forward with your goals for your life and for your business. And if you're not quite there yet, I don't talk about this a lot, but if you want to start by just understanding how you're wired and not maybe coming into one-on-one coaching long-term, I do have the Personality Blueprint Experience, which is a 2-hour session where you and I get together. We go through your personality blueprint and you get clarity on your strengths, on your energy, and what's been quietly working against you. It's a really powerful session. Either way, take a step. And the clarity call really is the first step. And you've been waiting long enough. You've been waiting long enough. Now is the time. And I'm believing in you always, and I'll catch you on our next episode. Well, that's a wrap, friends. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. I really hope it met you right where you are and gave you some encouragement for your day. Could you do me the biggest favor and leave me a rating and review? Seriously, it's the best way for you to support the show. And while you're there, be sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. Thanks again. And until next time, I am believing in you always.